Hey folks, I'm just opposite Wallingham School on Tythe Pitchell Lane, Hamsey Green, and I'm going to go on a roundabout 3-mile walk today, a loop walk taking us down to Kenley and then back up via Riddlesdown, across Sanderstead and then back here, and that'll complete the loop. We've got a nice day here, so let's get on our way. And this trackway, where the route starts, was originally an old coach road. It would have gone from Tythe Pitchell Lane, carrying on straight, and pretty much heading down towards where we're heading today. Now, this is also going to be one of those which I file under things that I've known about for years and never actually spent much time at. I mean, I went to all 3 schools during my school life in Tythe Pitchell Lane back there. We did used to use this particular route, or part of it, for the school cross-country run, which I think took place in the autumn term. Reminds me of one story where yours truly and a few mates decided that we would take it easy on ourselves, and only where we could be seen by the teachers that were in the field to my left here would we actually run, jog, try and look worn out as we went past. It didn't work. We got completely sussed out, hauled before one of the senior officials, I think it was the deputy head, and we had to do the run again. One of our party, I think, came second or something, so we might have been quite competitive. But anyway, moral of the story, don't try and cheat on cross country. You'll get sussed out, and you might have to do it again or worse, who knows. I think that would have been one of the first turns we took, because the school field is over there on the left. So that was the first bit where they might have smelt a rat. All public footpaths today. And absolutely beautiful. We've not had some great weather in the last few weeks, but much better now. How beautiful to just take it in sometimes. Trying to avoid the reflections. All sorts of activity. Blackberries there, butterflies. You know, we're very close to a big residential area, but you don't have to go far, and you can enjoy this glory. Look at this. It's like they've been waiting for this weather to come out. Beautiful. I don't know the species by name. Feel free to comment. I love it when people comment on the videos. Let's look at this, lovely. Let's stop to enjoy it. Purr of an aeroplane in the distance. 1940, these skies would have been very busy this time of the year. Don't know if that's of any significance. Clues, anybody? Little dip, a little bench there. You know what to do. Slightly shorter grass here. Skylark protection zone. English summer day, anybody? It's not particularly hot today, it's pleasant, it's an ideal day for what I'm doing. Now I'm going to check my bearings here, because I think I have to go across that way. And yeah, it looks like I'm going to be heading in this direction. A much fainter pathway. I used this app in earnest for the first time when I did my winter walk over Farley, Chelsham area. So it's good to give it another test, and obviously it'll work better where you've got a chance of a signal. Now I'm just to upset some jackdaws here. Crows, jackdaws, crows. A murder of some description. Oh, they've just shifted out of the way a bit. If I was that way inclined, I could have brought an easel and some paints, but I wouldn't know which end of the brush to hold. Well, I would, but so we've got some railings, and we've got a sign, footpath 133 Dunmail Drive, Hamsey Green, footpath 132 Riddlesdown Road, Godstone Road, Old Barn Lane. I think that's the way I'm heading, but there's also a stile here and a danger notice, steep footpath. I think that's my one, so I'm going to go and investigate. So this should be the safety railings for the first main site. There's a Corporation of London hut in there. The Corporation of London own a lot of land in this area, as do the Whitgift Foundation and Croydon Council and some private landowners and maybe others. That looks like an old bomb shelter, but it's probably not. I keep checking the app. It indicates that I'm on the right track, literally. Fair drop just there, just the other side. It's difficult to see, but it drops down quite quickly. Aha. Now I don't know how much of a visual we're going to get, but you can see through there, hopefully, some chalk, because this was an old quarry. Now descending towards Kenley. Well, it's the Whiteleaf Kenley border that I covered in the Whiteleaf walk and talk video that I did. Danger, cliff edge, stay out. And it's best to heed such warnings so that we can be around to enjoy such sights in the future. I'll just go down, you can get an idea of the terrain that I'm negotiating here. Went with walking boots today because I thought, well, you just don't know. And they've always got good grip and ankle support. I'm not on any sponsorship for walking boots, so boundary stone. Much of this whole line, so the Tythe Pitshore Lane, the old coach road, almost down to this very track, was the boundary. That's what defined the boundary. I mean, boundaries change over time, but still today, if you go to the end of Tythe Pitshore Lane, that's pretty much, or just along from there, is pretty much the boundary between London Borough of Croydon and Morlingham, Surrey. According to my research, the ascent as part of this walk will be very different and should be much easier. As you can see, it's quite tight in this spot. Still got good grip, opening out. Don't be tempted to go too fast. Visually, we're in deep countryside, but aurally, A-U-R, I can hear the cars and lorries from Godstone Road. And if you think about it, in terms of this being a major route, it makes sense because this would have connected to the A22 Eastbourne Road. It probably was a track then. And there was quite a big junction of sorts just down at Whiteleaf. But if this connects up to the route into Purley, we've got the main London to Brighton road there. Possibly another boundary stone there. Yeah, so it makes sense that these roads connect up. You've got to get to places, you've got to do trade, you've got to earn a living. We've gone from that fairly flat section and we've now got steps and handrail. Although because I'm holding the camera, I'm not actually holding the handrail. And my notes, of course. And we have a railway line. Riddlesdown Viaduct. Penalty for not closing the gates, £1,000. I will close the gates. It's on a spring closure mechanism. I will just stop, look and listen. Nothing from there. Nothing from there. Walk safely across. Clearly mark those that you have to step over there. And we've now made it to the other side, and that's the steps that we've just come down, and obviously on a much lower level than we were. I keep thinking I can hear electrical noises as if there's power being supplied to the tracks for a train to come, but no sign just yet. A timetable check means there's no train for about 15 minutes, so sorry about that as I disappear into darkness. That'll be for another day or later today. Plenty of important health and safety signs. Be left in no doubt where we are and the purpose of this site. Now these lime works that I'm struggling to get a view of, but they are visible on the map, were opened in 1820 and they weren't particularly commercially successful because the owner, well, there were two Atkins, James Senior, James Junior, but they're both listed as bankrupt in 1842. And the site actually closed in 1967. Now we get a view, well, not just of Dewson's, but of what we just walked down and past. Amazing sight. And when you're over at Kenley Aerodrome, if you go on a walk around the circuit, which I highly recommend, you can see these cliffs quite clearly, obviously. They provide a good marker. It ceased operation in 1967. And obviously the fencing off has been in place for many, many years, because sadly a child lost their life back in the 1800s. And at one point I read that they employed labourers to tell people to keep out, kind of thing, until such time as they could build the fencing. But that's a sheer drop. When you consider, if you know the area, coming down from the top there where the schools are, down to Whiteleaf, it's just, you know, it's quite a drop, or climb, depending which way you're going. And there we see it as a cutaway. And you see the viaduct there that we were looking down when I was waiting for a train. There may be one when I make my way further up. Now opposite is Crown House flats, apartments, and this was the site of the Rose and Crown pub that had actually stood here in different guises since the 1700s. So yeah, the corner of Old Barn Lane there, that's where the Rose and Crown was. Quite a big pub and a long history. I don't ever remember going in there, weirdly. But that was pulled down quite a few years ago and these apartments built up. So, Rose and Crown. And the quarry on the right, plus where I came down. And we're now heading up onto Riddlesdown itself. Up until the 1970s, this was an actual road. But now it's enjoyed by, well, walkers, horse riders, cyclists, with the official sign for Riddlesdown. As we climb and I attempt to not get too out of breath, I'll read you something that I read when I was doing the research, and this was on the Corporation of London website. Secret passages underneath Riddlesdown. 3 galleries extend 73.1 metres into Riddlesdown at the bottom of the old chalk pit opposite the Kenley Hotel. They're linked by a series of corridors 2.1 metres wide by 2.7 metres high. An air raid shelter was opened in June 1942 during the Second World War to provide protection against the biggest bomb yet known. The corridors are lined on either side with 2 tiers of bunks, enabling 1,500 people to sleep here. There was a canteen and toilets, running water and electricity, but no heating. People booked their bed with the warden and took their own blankets in at night. Some beds were reserved for those who were bombed out, i.e. made homeless by the war. And 100,000 people stayed here over 2 years. The site today is rented to a company making optical components and instruments. Now, my watch says 11:01, and there were trains due at Upper Wallingham just along the track at 11:02. So, I'd like to say this is precision timing on my part, but it's more luck of the draw. But hey, you take the opportunities, don't you? So let's see what we shall see. This reminds me of one of the walks we did in the Peak District. Now, that additional structure there is not going to help on a visual. And this is slightly into the sun, but it's going to be better. we advance. I'll admit I've not noticed that mast over there in the past. But on the top there of that land, of the line of trees and what is a beautiful sky today, that'll be Kenley Common over there, where Kenley Aerodrome is. Phil's Walk and Talk refers. Now there is a path up there. I don't think it's one I plan to take. No, I'm carrying on. I am carrying on. Good old buddleia. Grow anywhere, those things. Literally anywhere. I mean, not in the deep ocean or anything, but... Ooh, what's that little bird in there? He went away from me rather than toward me. Tiny, could have been a wren. More signage up here. Mitchley Avenue, Hamsey Green, Godstone. So now we're entering, I would say, Riddlesdown Common proper. A few different routes that you can take. A number of them crisscross and join up accordingly. Beautiful wildflowers. I would expect they've had a pretty good year because we've had cooler weather, certainly throughout July and a chunk of August so far. Nothing like last year. How utterly beautiful. Now, when doing the research, I thought, I wonder if there's any headlines from way back about this particular area, and I found one. So it relates to a highwayman robbing a couple of travellers on Riddlesdown. So I'm going to stand and deliver that article to you. Sorry. On Thursday last, 2 gentlemen in a chaise were robbed on Riddlesdown, beyond Croydon, of 11 guineas and a diamond ring by a single highwayman, who, being soon after pursued by a hue and cry, and for want of knowledge of the country, mistaking a by-lane to a farmer's house for a common road, he was taken on Ketterham Common, that's Caterham Common, and carried away to Guildford, where probably he'll soon be paid the wages of his iniquity. So that was the Stamford Mercury, April 1742, and the incident took place here. I mean, not necessarily on this spot, but possibly the route, who knows. So that's why I like doing the research, because you can find these little nuggets tucked away and I can share them with you. So yeah, highwayman robbing a couple of poor travellers on Riddlesdown, 1742. A further app map check revealed that I've gone slightly off, but nothing that can't be recovered, because you've got these nice pathways through, and I can connect up with my original intended route. A lovely scene. Do it justice on a wide angle camera, but lovely. Lovely, lovely. And we're on the London Loop, as indicated by the sign. In planning these routes, you can get an idea of elevation changes and the like. And initially, because I'm trying it out, I thought, well, I'll review it and things after I've actually tested it. And then I'll make it public. So in the description for the video below, you'll be able to download and go on the exact same walk. Two for joy. And a joyous walk this is. I've seen a few people walking dogs and just getting their own exercise. I would imagine back in 2020 this was a popular spot. Now this pathway leads to Riddlesdown School, Hollister Heights. And being summer holiday, well, effectively that's why I chose to do the walk now, because it's just all round quieter. Now, elderberries, beautiful and shiny. So this particular section is where there was a rifle range, opened in 1860, 594.3 metres long, and clearly shown on a map from around about 1880s, 1890s. The objective of the club was to develop skills in rifle shooting by providing instructions and practice to any of Her Majesty's subjects. Essential maintenance being done there. A little bit of cloud cover now. But still very beautiful and not struggling because of the recent rainfall. It tends to soak away quite quickly in summer conditions. So I plan to do another walk in this area, going out towards the other part of Kenley. So there might be a revisit to some of these to put a bit more context around them. But I'll probably go back over Riddlesdown and then branch out more towards the Kenley area. When I was doing map research of the area, one thing became abundantly clear, and that's that the layout of the land really is unchanged for probably centuries. There's little areas called shores, and if you take from, well, one of the earliest maps that I have from the 1800s and then just bring it up to date to what we have today, there's just very little change. Now, not long until a slight reveal on a previous mystery. So those who've stuck with the walk will get to hear it. And those who've dipped in and out may never know, except I'll probably put a comment in the description. Clouds move past the sun and it transforms the landscape. Interestingly, we're going down very slightly here. Signage now back to showing Sanstead to Whiteleaf countryside area. But I didn't realise that I'd climbed that high to then need to descend for the final remaining section of the walk. Lots of routes here on the pathway should you come along this way. Imagine that's a tad dangerous in the icy weather. It's gone completely quiet again. So this dip is for a reason, because this is a slight valley. Quite hard to see because we're going up the other side now. Not a huge climb. Just before I did this walk today, I had a call from someone who'd actually participated in one of my recent videos on YouTube, and we had a lovely conversation. And I love the interaction that flows from putting my content out there. The nostalgia trips that people have and the memories that it can trigger, and taking you on a mind journey. So feel free to get in touch. It's all good fun. On my channel page in the top right hand corner, there's a link to my bio site, which has got all the various links that I have. So if there's a particular method of getting in touch that you prefer rather than a public comment, because I get quite a few emails and stuff, so feel free. I'd be delighted to chat about the stuff that I do. So, a few months ago, I put a video out about the mystery of 150 Limpsfield Road. I did preface it saying that it might just be a mystery in my head. And a number of people have commented saying that it used to be an entrance to the land that we see here. But roughly in this spot that I'm at now, in that direction, is the gap at what would be 150 Limpsfield Road. It looks like the Whitgift Foundation, who I mentioned previously were one of the many owners of land in this area. They own this particular land, and it's always been kept free. There are rights to access or run services underneath that gap, and there was something about some permission to build some fencing up there a few years back, but nothing really to say why it has to be like that, other than it must have been an access point. So there's no secret underground passage or anything like that. Well, if there is, it's obviously not going to be in the public domain. So I say I'm afraid, but that appears to be the answer to the mystery of 150 Limpsfield Road, that it's just something that's written into the deeds, that it's just used for potentially an access way originally, but you can get there if you need to do some work, but it's actually nothing special. Doesn't look like there was ever an attempt to sell it off. What I'd probably need to be clear is someone who knows the legal wording to say it's this, this and this, and it's not that, that and that, but that's the update really. Sorry if it's disappointing, but you know, you have to call these things out, and it was only by actually putting the video out there that someone very kindly came back and gave me the answer. So thank you. I believe this is the way I need to go in accordance with OS Maps to take me back to where the journey started. Ironically, I have to check that I'm sure I'm on the right route. It's the second terrible joke I've made today. Plenty more, I'm afraid to say. Just in the middle there. Bee and butterfly paradise. Going a little bit nearer, but I don't want to scare them. Eat your heart out, countryfile. I don't think John Craven's got anything to worry about, to be honest. What a career that man's had. It should be pretty straightforward from here. And nettles and bracken. As I come up for the very last part of the journey, of the walk, got St Anthony's Church, I believe, straight down there. And just for those trees are straight ahead, that was the first part of the walk. Blessed by the weather. So there we have it, a Hamsey Green, Whiteleaf, Kenley, Riddlesdown loop, round about an hour and a half, round about 3 miles, just under. I took 1 or 2 little diversions here and there, but you know, we're not talking about precise things here, are we? Just talking about the walk itself. And it's been wonderful. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Get away, bug.